How blessed are thy children wherever they roam. Claim thee their country, their hope and the home. I love thee, my country. Oh, great be thy fame. I love thy dear banner. I honor thy name. I'll live for thee, die for thee, serve no land but thee. My country forever, great land of the free. Thank you, Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Do we do the pledge next? There we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a new Toastmasters year. Yay! I'd like to welcome all to the meeting this morning, and I see we have some guests. So I'd like to say hello to Pam Gorman, our past district director, who just retired. Hi, Pam. And we also, hello. And we have Kristen Keryk from Cortland, who is our guest evaluator this morning. Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for letting me crash your really, really early party.
We appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Are there any announcements before I turn things over to myself?
Actually, I have one.
Go ahead, Pam.
And you may already know, but District 65's International Speech Contest winner made it through the quarterfinals round.
Oh, hey!
And we can all watch the semifinal round virtually. I'm actually pulling it up so I can see when that is. But so I'll announce it by the end of the meeting. I'll post it in the chat or whatever. But
she's in the third round.
You already know, Larry?
They had the lineup in yesterday. She's in the third round, but they didn't announce the date.
Oh, okay.
Or the time.
Right. Well, they sent this, email saying, cheer on your contestant. And I thought maybe the dates were there. It was taking a minute to open up. But anyway, very exciting. As soon as we know that information, we'll pass that on because that would be really great to watch. I've watched the semifinal rounds in person before, so it's very exciting. And we have person. It's so great.
She's a great speaker too.
This should take place for your Jester Master because I'm just a lot of fun. Or at least I think I am. All right, carry on.
Thank you so much, Pam. Now if there's any further business, Larry?
I wanted to thank all of the new officers who attended the officer training this past weekend. We did have 4 members from AM Lockport attend as incoming officers, but there will be a makeup for the officers who weren't able to attend, and I'm sure Eric will be letting you know when that is. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Pam has something.
Oh, Pam? No, she doesn't. Okay. It's July 14th and 23rd from 6 to 9 on Zoom. That's when the makeup training will be taking place. And now, any further business, I'll turn the proceedings over to myself as Toastmaster. So today's theme is, what's your favorite cartoons? Now, growing up, I watched Rugrats, Cat Dog, any Nickelodeon shows you can think of. And I have some other shows that we all remember, like Johnny Bravo. I got Johnny Bravo on here. Where he is? There he is. Johnny Bravo. Courage the Cowardly Dog. SpongeBob. SpongeBob's like 20 years old. And now you can try to guess who all these colorful characters are. I'll let you guys debate on that. The classic Looney Tunes episodes. My favorite one is Bugs Bunny because he always loves to cause mayhem to Daffy Duck and Elmer Fudd. So let's get to our job holders this morning. Our word master this morning is Mark Campos.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Before I reveal the word of the day, I have to address the imposter that is in our midst. That person in Phil Russell's video box. Who are you and what have you done with Phil? Sorry, Phil, I just can't stop. I just can't stop looking at you. And Eric, I am glad you've already mentioned Looney Tunes, because is there any debate? They are at the pinnacle. They are the kings of the hill, if you will. The best cartoons of all time. It's amazing they got away with that stuff during that time period. A lot of adult humor, a lot of innuendo, probably why I like it. Anyway, the word of the day. I came across this word about a week ago. Ironically enough, it was part of a weather forecast by the National Weather Service in Buffalo that was posted online. And I just liked how it sounded, so I filed it away for future use. And the word is quiescent, which is an adjective for those of you keeping score at home. A definition of it would be in a state or period of inactivity or dormancy. I'll give you an example in a sentence. Strikes were headed by groups of workers who had previously been quiescent. So quiescent, Q-U-I-E-S-C-E-N-T, and I will put it in the chat box. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wordmaster. Excuse me. Our master this morning is Mopeless.
That's my favorite cartoon character. I thought I'll just share the screen. Good morning, Mr. Toastmaster, club president, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Today, my role is R counter. Why do we do this R counting? To help myself and fellow Toastmasters and even guests to recognize the use of unlexical fillers, lexical fillers, and also unintentional pauses. I'm going to take note of those usage and hopefully help us to try to avoid these filler words. Mr. Toastmaster, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mopeless. Our grammarian this morning is Kate Banks.
Good morning, Mr. Toastmaster, Mr. President, and our fellow Toastmasters. I see my mentor, Mopeless, has stepped up our grammatical game, and I better be on point this morning. I love that chart. I'm not certain about the term unlexical, but I get the idea that lexicon would, of course, be actual words that we murdered. Let's not murder any words this morning, or unlexical that are not even words. So I will let Mopeless handle that amazing chart, and I want to use it myself someday, but I will be listening for our word usage beyond that, vocabulary that is strong and weak. So please show us your strengths and get out of your quiescence. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kate. Our quote master this morning is Sylvia Baptiste. Sylvia.
Morning. For some reason, Eric, I read the agenda and I thought it said summer plans was the theme, not Looney Tunes. And and I love the Looney Tunes too. I like the Elmer Fudd section and the rabbit season, duck season. That's a good one. But I did look at summer quotes, and being that it's 4th of July weekend, So I picked a couple Freedom and 4th of July weekend quotes I heard. First one is, may we think of freedom not as the right to do as we please, but the opportunity to do what is right. Peter Marshall. Second one is, no other date on the calendar more potentially symbolize all that our nation stands for than the 4th of July. Mac Thornberry. And then the last one is, with freedom comes responsibility. And I know Kate knows that one, Eleanor Roosevelt. That's it.
Thank you so much, Sylvia.
You're welcome.
I don't see Dr. Stevens on here for Jester. I'll give him some time, but if anybody would like to step up for Jester, that'll be great.
Yeah, I'm gonna take care of that, Eric.
Okay, go ahead, Len.
As gesture master today, my job is to look for gestures, those nonverbal cues which reinforce what we're saying. As most of us are sitting down, it's very difficult to express ourselves, and occasionally I'll see hands pop into the frame and so on. So what I'm going to focus on today is how often everybody looks directly into the camera as opposed to their screen when they're speaking. So work on that. That's an important Zoom skill in this Zoom age we now live in. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Len. Thank you for stepping up for Jester Master. Our Jester, Dr. Stevens, I don't see him on here, but if anybody would like to find a joke, or we'll give him some time to come on, that'll be great. Our timer this morning is Larry Eggert.
Who was standing here daydreaming? Sorry. I'll be the timer today. I will try not to be quiescent. I think I said that correctly. You know, by the way, there's a lot of big words this morning. Quiescent, lexical, unlexical, way too early, just started the tea, hasn't kicked in yet. I'll be the timer using my handy dandy iPhone as my timing device. If I have it right, table topics are 1.5 to 2 minutes with a 30-second buffer. Am I good? And yep. Evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes, 30-second buffer. Am I good?
Yep.
I see a lot of nodding heads. That's a good sign. Thank you, Larry, for providing me with that. And I will keep track and report back when asked. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, other brother Larry. And our quiz master, Mike Licata.
Good morning, Mr. President. My job this morning will be to quiz everyone at the end of the meeting, and hopefully I won't become too quiescent during the meeting, and I will pay attention. I'll have a couple of questions for everyone at the end of the meeting. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mike. And I can't leave out the general evaluator, which is the wonderful Jen Zapla. Jen, what is your role as general evaluator?
Thank you, Eric. Yes, I will be your general evaluator today, evaluating the meeting as a whole and the evaluator specifically. That's all I'm doing.
Thank you, Jen. Now, going back to Moqua's with the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, it's always funny when the Coyote's trying to stop the Roadrunner so he can have him as dinner. But it's always funny when he gets caught up in funny situations and makes him fall down a cliff every time he messes up. So that's one of my favorite ones of Looney Tunes, is the Coyote one. Oh. Now, we're going to table topics. Our table topics master this morning is our immediate past president, Larry McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I was just changing my poll around over there for the table topics. This morning, I have the honor of being your table topics master, and I will try not to be quiescent with the fact that during this time of being sequestered into my home, I was not quiescent. I kept quite busy working on my deck and other chores. I have my to-do list, which will never be to done, and I will continue to do that. What I'm going to ask right now, and I know that she did not want to roll, and she's been very, very busy throughout the year, and her role ended just recently, but I am going to call on Pam Gorman this morning for table topics because I know she's been waiting for this. Pam, this will not take too much brain power at all, but what I'm going to ask you is cartoons. One of my favorite cartoons was Popeye. Popeye had this superfood, which was spinach, that gave him great strength and kept him going. Is there one thing that is your superfood that you just love and have to have regardless whether it's good or bad for you? Pam Gorman.
Thank you for giving me a very easy question, Larry. My superfood, although wine is a beverage, it would be very good, but what goes very well with wine? But chocolate. In fact, yesterday I was out running errands and I went to over by Old Navy on Transit Road in East Amherst there. When I pulled in the plaza, they had a farmer's market going on. And I said, oh, I'm going to see if there's anything here worth stopping for. I was very excited to see Victoriansburg had a little booth because they have a wine that goes very well with pizza. So I picked that up. But what I was looking for were special jellies and jams. And when I got to the fudge stand, everything changed. Chocolate. They had samples. And when they said this will go well with wine, I was sold. And of course, you've got a discount when you could get more than one. And I couldn't decide. So of course, I got more than one. The new Toastmasters year gives me the opportunity to enjoy quiescent surroundings and opportunities. And yesterday I seized the opportunity to get a new bottle of wine and to get some chocolate to go with it. Chocolate is definitely a superfood that gives me plenty of power, especially when I am up at 7 o'clock in the morning to visit AM Lockport. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much. I just saw Hershey's Kiss. That was fantastic. Speaking of Hershey Kisses, Thomas Heldwin. Thomas, good morning. Is Thomas with us? There he is. Thomas,
good morning.
Thomas, thanks for volunteering to be my second Table Topics contestant. This morning, Pam just showed us one of those lovely Hershey Kisses. One of the things that I like to do is travel. Hershey, Pennsylvania is one of those places because Hershey has this great chocolate factory and everything, which is something that I enjoy. Is there a place that you like to travel to that perhaps you may not have an opportunity to do this year, but are looking forward to in the future?
Thank you. I have traveled quite a bit, but do I have a regular location that I travel to over and over again? No. One of the kids, I guess the best I could do would be where we used to go as children was Jellystone National Park, or Jellystone Park, which is in the South Towns. It was a trailer park. And every summer we would go, and it was a wonderful and fun week where we weren't necessarily getting away from technology at that point because it was back in the early 80s. But one of the things we were getting away from was our normal lives. It was a totally different place, and it was a wonderful trip to a new atmosphere, a new way, and we would definitely get to know our cousins better. We would have time to have fun. We would go canoeing, swimming, hiking, and I think the best year was the year I got to actually be Boo Boo and the Boo Boo costume when I was about 15 or 16. That was last year, and for the entire week at lunchtime, I got to be Boo Boo. And The hardest part was you can't talk. So imagine me not being able to talk for basically an hour every day. But I think that taught me a lesson too, is sometimes you should be silent and not speak and just listen. I think that actually ties into right now with everything we're going through. I've stopped talking and I've done a lot of listening. So that vacation plan actually helped me today. Thank you. Oh, I didn't use the word. Damn it.
What word was it?
I didn't hear it. I
Quiescent.
don't know what it is.
Quiescent.
So quiescent. Okay. Well, I didn't know what it was, so.
No problem. Thomas is at work this morning at the VA, so we do give him somewhat of a pass for that, I do believe, for joining us even while he's at work this morning. I have one other contestant for table topics, and that person this morning, I don't know, but he has transformed himself. Mr. Phil Russell, I have a question for you. July 5th is the full moon. The day before is the 4th of July. I must say, before you transform back into the Wolfman on July 5th, do you have any plans for the 4th of July holiday? Phil Russell.
Speaking of cartoons, when I was quiescent as a young man or a boy, I would watch many cartoons. Plus, they'd have them on Captain Kangaroo, Mickey Mouse Club, and then I would watch, at times, Roadrunner. It would be a wonderful time. Then we'd go out and play. But I believe today parents would repudiate the violence because the cartoons were very violent. And I don't think parents would like that very much. Now, for the 4th of July, before I get back into my real outfit, but it'll take me 3 months to do that again, we're having a Zoom meeting. My nephew, godson, Patrick Conlon, out in Utah. He's a chiropractor, loves Utah. We're having a Zoom meeting with the family, and I don't know how many have already shown up, but they're going to be from all over the country. It should be fun because normally what we do is we get together up in Boston, actually Nahant, for a party with my sister and all the family, and we have a wonderful time. We watch the fireworks. Everything is great. But this year we can't, so therefore we're going to have a Zoom meeting. Seamus, his brother, my other nephew, another nephew of mine, he's setting it all up. And so we're going to have a good time on Zoom. I hope the person that is running it, Seamus, knows what he's doing, because I've heard that people do Zoom meetings with families. They don't mute everyone. So everyone's talking at the same time and nobody can understand what the heck is going on. But I'm sure that we will have a good time. And when that full moon comes up, I'm going to hide in the basement. Mr. Toastmaster Table Topics person.
One of those people. Thank you, Phil. Phil mentioned Roadrunner. Oh my gosh, Roadrunner was also one of my favorites. And I also belonged to a group club at the Boys Club, and we were called the Roadrunners. I know, useless trivia. May I have a timer's report, please, Mr. Timer?
First of all, there is no such thing as useless trivia. It's all valuable.
Thank you.
All right. I'm a trivia fan, just like you and Dave. All right, let's see. Pam Gorman was at 1 minute, 49 seconds, 0.10, according to my really accurate iPhone. So she qualifies. Tom Heldwin, 144.54, also qualified. Phil Russell, 2 minutes, 8 seconds, 0.37. They all qualified.
Thank you for that very accurate timing report, Mr. Timer, Larry, today. May we also have a word master report in regards to, did all of our 3 table topics use the word of the day?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. All three contestants did use Quiescent. Pam, Thomas, and Phil were giving Thomas the benefit of the doubt. At least he acknowledged and pulled it out of the fire at the last minute and used the word, and he is at work. So all three qualified with the word. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Mr. Wordmaster, this morning. Before I turn the meeting back over to our Toastmaster, you will see momentarily a poll coming on your screen. Please choose who you thought was the best table topics. I will now turn the meeting back over to our Toastmaster of the day, our President, Erik.
Thank you so much, Larry. Very good table topics questions. Now, does anybody remember the Ren and Stimpy show from the 90s? There was a song that my mother always hates, is the Happy Happy Joy Joy song. And every time I actually posted on Facebook not too long ago, and I go, this annoyed the heck out of my mother, and she goes, yes, it did. So, and basically as a nagger, I always nag mother all the time. So maybe I'll do something like that, just to nag her. Hoping she doesn't watch this part of the video. Now we go into our first speaking portion of the meeting. Our first speaker is Jackie Kenny, and her evaluator is Ryan Flory. And I don't see Ryan on here.
Any volunteers to be evaluating Jackie?
Yeah.
If we have another role, it's okay. It looks like we could do the overlapping. Oh, David raised his hand. Thanks,
Oh, good.
David.
Thank you, Dave.
I'll be happy to evaluate Jackie. I've been evaluating her since I was a freshman at DeSales.
Oh. All right. Thank you, Dave, for stepping in to take the role.
I have no idea what her goals are, but she can fill me in at the start of her speech and we'll take it from there.
All right. And I do have her title. It's from the Pathways Dynamic Leadership series, level 3, deliver social speeches. Mr. Timer is from 3 to 4 minutes. And her speech title is Welcome to Our World. Jackie Kenny.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I have the honor this morning of inducting our newest members to AM Lockport Toastmasters. Welcome to our world, new members. I know everyone couldn't be here this morning, but I'm hoping that we'll be seeing them all in person, hopefully before too much longer. Benjamin Martin came to us as a guest several times before submitting his membership in February. We got to know him a little bit, and then COVID stepped in and he's had work commitments that don't allow him to join us even in a Zoom meeting. Beth Banks has been a guest several times over the years, and her daughter Kate's enthusiasm finally persuaded her to join us. She joined as of March. She has shared with us her love of family and her dedication to all things Celtic. The most intriguing new member to me is Alexis Rivera. She's never been in the same room with members of this club. She had learned about Toastmasters, she'd been curious about Toastmasters, and she finally zoomed in and joined us. She came to one meeting, and before that meeting was over, she was filling out her application and submitting it. All 3 of these new members have been greeted with enthusiasm, and I know all of us welcome their presence and will be more than happy to welcome them physically in person someday. We don't know when at this point. But at our first opportunity, we're going to present them with their membership pins and bring them into the fold. They will no longer be quiescent. They will be noisy and voluble and part of AM Lockport, which is so worth getting up for every morning. And now I'm going to ask all of you to join me in reciting our Toastmasters pledge so that our members can be fulfilled as part of AM Lockport. I don't know, hopefully I have shared the screen. As a member of Toastmasters International and my club, I promise to attend club meetings regularly, to prepare all of my projects to the best of my ability, basing them on the Toastmasters education program, to prepare for and fulfill meeting assignments, to provide fellow members with helpful, constructive evaluations, to help the club maintain the positive, friendly environment necessary for all members to learn and grow, to serve my club as an officer when called upon to do so, to treat my fellow club members and our guests with respect and courtesy, to bring guests to club meetings so they can see the benefits Toastmasters membership offers, to adhere to the guidelines and rules for all Toastmasters education and recognition programs, to act within Toastmasters core values of integrity, respect, service, and excellence during the conduct of all Toastmasters activities. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to your future of heightened awareness, improvement in your confidence and skills, challenging yourself in many ways, and completely eradicating ahs and ums from your vocabulary. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jackie, and welcome new members to our club. Our second speaker this morning is the wonderful, lovable Margo Sue Bittner. And who's her evaluator this morning? Tom Moran.
Tom Moran, Mr. Moran.
Oh, he's muted.
Unmute, Tom.
Still muted.
Still muted, Tom.
Every time somebody pulls up a different screen other than their face, my laptop goes to the home screen. So I've got to kind of manipulate it here somehow. So my take is here from a chat that I received from Margo that she has something to do this morning with the actual induction of officers. Am I correct there, Margo?
Correct, yep.
Okay. So I'm going to let Margo go ahead and do this, given that I don't have any objectives or anything, and then we'll evaluate it at the end when you call upon me.
And what's your time limit, Margo?
5 to 7, I hope.
All right, fellow Toastmasters and guests, help me and welcome Margo Sue Bittner in her speech title. Oh, I want to do her introduction that she has here. Past President Margo has inducted a few officers over the years. She's done it with props, in rhyme, and even in costume. This time, she will add in-cooking analogies. May I present to you Margo Sue Bittner, Distinguished Toastmaster, with our recipe for success. Margo Sue Bittner.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate the introduction. Yes, one thing about the officers in this club, they are never quiescent. But we're going to start with the recipe that they need for success today. The first thing you need are turnips. Why turnips? Because you have to turn up at the meetings on time. You have to turn up with a smile. You have to turn up with ideas. And you have to turn up with the determination to make everything and everyone count. Did I not just describe our new president or not? I mean, Erik is wonderful. So Erik, you are the person who's going to set the tone for our club. You can expect to provide helpful, supportive leadership. You can motivate, make peace at times, facilitate whenever required, and you may have to step in and make those difficult decisions. But usually, the club members and your officers are behind you. As you strive to show respect for all members and provide our leadership, you're also going to stay current with all the developments from Toastmasters International. Erik, will you do these duties to the best of your ability?
I will.
Thank you. Now, the next part of our recipe is 5 heads of lettuce. Let us understand our goals and targets. Let us understand our skills and where we need to grow. Let us participate fully. Let us earn respect and empowerment. And let us understand each person's path for growth. Isn't that what our education VP does? So Kate, as Vice President of Education, you are going to schedule the speeches, projects, and serve as the resource for questions about educational awards, speech contests, and the mentor program. You are an important source and link to Toastmasters because your knowledge will help all club members. And it's your job to make sure that we all understand the educational program. Kate, will you do this to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you. Now, we're going to switch it up a little bit because the next person is going to need a number of things to do their job. They need half a cup of friendship, a cup of thoughtfulness, add in a huge bowl of loyalty, and top it with a cup of hope. Because that's what happens when our Vice President of Membership brings new members in. So I don't think Ryan's on, but his job this year will be to promote the club and manage the whole aspect of bringing in guests and transforming them into members. He's going to initiate the contact with guests, make them feel welcome, and provide them with the information they need to join through our wonderful little handbooks when we are together. And he's also going to help us maintain the influx of new people, and he'll the membership levels and strategies, hopefully having some wonderful events throughout the year. So Ryan, I look forward to what you're going to do for us this year. Now, I need 5 cups of peas. Peas, yes. Purpose, preparation, presence, promptness, and perseverance. It's hard to get PR out there. It's really hard to get things in the paper. So Ben, even though I know he's not signed on, he's going to help promote us. And it's up to all of us to help him make sure he has the information he needs. He can promote us in the paper, web content, however he can do it the best. And he's hopefully going to be able to notify the press when anything noteworthy happens, contests, contest winners, and he can even create some flyers, maybe find those old business cards and pass them out. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Ben can do for us during this next year. Now, I didn't see Steve or Jill on this morning, but this job takes a little bit of work. 4 cups of effort, 2 cups of kindness, 1 cup of communication, and 1/3 of a cup of teamwork, and mix it all together well. That's what our secretary needs to keep all of us on track. Because in our club too, the secretary is our ad hoc historian. Because what she's doing is she's maintaining club records, club files, handling all our correspondence, making sure cards go out when they need it, and maintaining all the minutes of our club. And I'm looking forward to seeing what she comes up with at the end of the year to sort of summarize our year. So Jill, wherever you are, I look forward to your being our secretary. Okay, so now a really important job. For this job, you need 2 cups of integrity, 1 cup of perseverance, 4 tablespoons of responsibility, and 1 tablespoon of kindness, and combine it with a gentle can, especially when you're reminding us that our dues are due. Right, Sylvia? So you're the club's accountant. You'll manage our bank account, writing checks, and depositing the dues and other club revenues, such as Split Club. You're in charge of submitting the membership renewal to make sure we get that little check mark in our plan. And your duties are not the most demanding, but it's one of the most important. You have your set jobs that you have to do, and you keep us on track. So Sylvia, will you do this to the best of your ability? Just wave. All right. Now we have our sergeant at arms, the person who has to come in early. 2 cups of determination, 3 cups of effort, 3 tablespoons of stick to it, a cup of visions, and 2 tablespoons of challenge because you have to get up early. So Samir is going to keep track of our physical properties such as the banner, the lectern, the timing materials, and during a contest, he's the one who makes sure that things are running smoothly and handles the things that he has to. So Samir, or actually Moklis, for your son, will you say yes? Thank you. Now, one more person to induct. I need a tablespoon of ideas, a cup of goodwill, a pinch of positivity, a pound of leadership, and 2 pounds of teamwork. So Larry, as immediate past president, you're our counselor. You're going to offer us advice as requested by the club president. Will you do this to the best of your ability?
I will definitely do so.
Thank you. We have now inducted our officers. They've all agreed to do their jobs. Our job as members is to support and encourage them. So we're going to add in a spoonful of gaiety, a magnum of laughter, a cup of faith, and bake it in a good-natured pan and serve it repeatedly. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Margo. That was a very well prepared recipe. Thank you so much. And congratulations to all the club officers this year. Looking forward to working with you all. And we would like to, for our 2 speakers, for Jackie and Margo, if you all would like to put in the chat of how they like their speeches and rooms for improvement, put it in the chat box below. Our final speaker this morning was supposed to be Samir. I don't see him on, but our alternate speaker is Carol Ann. Carol Ann, do you have a speech prepared? Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, I think I can try to wing it here.
All right. Your evaluator this morning is our guest, Kristen, our friend from Cortland. And what is your speech project from?
Actually, I didn't get a specific out of the Toastmasters manual, but let's see, I'm trying to find the timer here because I'm on the small tablet, so I can't see everybody at once, but I've got my timer there. I haven't picked an actual project for this because I just kind of made some notes, but it's just
off the cuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. There ain't no problem.
Okay, Mr. Toastmaster, members and guests. Appropriately, I'm speaking about the 4th of July. And this has always been an important time of the year because actually my birthday is on the 3rd of July. And we often celebrate my birthday on the 4th with a cake and always fireworks. And this year, that's going to be a problem, the firework part of it. On the 3rd of July, we always went to Alcott to see the fireworks there. And on the 4th of July, it was Lewiston. And my husband loves fireworks. So he also enjoyed all the ones at the at our county fair here in Lockport and at the Erie County Fair. And of course, anytime we went to Disney, that's a big part of their program at night that we enjoyed. I met my husband a couple weeks before my birthday, back quite a few years ago, and I did invite him to come over for cake on my birthday, and of course he didn't know me well, so I wasn't assuming to get a present or anything like that. But he did bring me a card, which became very significant because it was just a humorous card, and it said something like, if you're tired of the usual greetings and the cakes, presents, candles, here's a new type of greeting. And I opened it up and it said, "Happy birthday, you old crab." Well, he said at the time he didn't know it, but he found that it sometimes during our life together, he found out that I could be an old crab. And this idea followed through. Every year on my cake, there is a big red crab, and usually a few red, white, and blue things like indicating some a fireworks type theme in the background. And this has been every year. I have multiple pictures of a cake with the crab on it, and it does say, it does not say "Happy Birthday, Carol." It says "Happy Birthday, Old Crab." And this this 4th of July, also we will miss all the parades. We always went to, of course, our Lockport parade, and I remember my daughter and my granddaughter a couple years ago were walking in it because my daughter works for the Mental Health Association, and they were in the parade, and my granddaughter were holding up a big sign walking down the street, "Happy Birthday, Old Crab," for everyone to see. And so this year, of course, the fireworks that we're used to seeing are in a quiescent state. So this year, I think, even though we're not really celebrating the 4th of July as usual, it is really probably one of the most important, because it's a year with just between COVID and everything else going on in the country. I think it is a year that we should come together and really make sure that this is a country where there's liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Carol. Thank you for stepping in for alternate speaker. Thank you. Could I have a timer's report, please, Mr. Timer?
Mr. Toastmaster, the times for the speeches were: Jackie was 4 minutes, 21 seconds, 0.63. That 6.3 is very important. Margo, 6 minutes, 36 seconds, 0.84. Carol Ann was 5 minutes, 9 seconds, 0.11. They all qualified, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. So the poll will be going up for vote for Jackie, Margo, or Carol Ann. Now, another one that I want to show you is one of the other cartoons from the old days of Cartoon Network. It was, oh, we got the Fairy Odd Parents, but who remembers Cow and Chicken with I Am Weasel? That was an old cartoon from Cartoon Network. Nobody remembers that? No? I see Larry shaking his head. No.
Eric, you have a different audience here. The target audience. Stop
My
saying
kids
old
watch
cartoons.
it.
Stop saying old cartoons. Just saying. Just stop.
Thank you for the reminder. I know Gibbs rule never say it. We had the classic Scooby-Doo. I like the old version better because the new version is not my cup of tea, so I like the originals better because they're so much fun to watch. I remember growing up watching the Fairly Odd Parents you see from Nickelodeon. That's over 20 years old already. It's still fun to watch though too. I remember the Wild Thornberrys. Now, who was the dad? Who was the actor who portrayed the dad? Tim Curry. Tim Curry was the father who played on the Wild Thornberrys. If anybody remembers, I remember watching him on the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I was like, whoa. So that's the other cartoons I grew up or anybody else grew up watching it. So, all right, I will go in and all the Justins. Thank you, Pam. I forgot about the Justins. Who remembers the characters of the Justins?
George.
Who was
George, Judy,
Judy,
Elroy,
Astro.
Rosie.
Rosie was the maid.
Yes.
What's the dog's name?
Astro.
Astro, yes.
Roll.
There was a video I watched where the Justins meet the Flintstones, and when they all travel through time, which I thought that was pretty cool. So my favorite character in the Flintstones has got to be the dinosaur pet.
Dino.
My favorite part is when Fred gets locked out of his house, he goes, Wilma! That was one of the funniest parts. And Alexa says, Inspector Gadget, yes. Inspector Gadget, yes. I like the movie one with Matthew Broderick. That was one of the other favorite cartoons into movies. That was fun to watch. All right.
What was weird to watch, at least my kids did, was Cat Dog. That was so strange. I wondered what they were on when they made that cartoon.
Oh, that was one of the other funny ones to watch. Now I'd like to go into our evaluation portion of the meeting. Our first evaluator evaluating Jackie is the one and only Dave Licata.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. Eric. A good third of this audience is so old, we remember that TV was starving for content. It would run Gertie the Dinosaur, which was the first ever animated feature, and it was a silent, Eric. So we go back a little bit more before you. But on with the evaluation, and I can tie it into your theme. Remember Tweety Bird? She had that very sweet woman that watched her and took care of her and looked out for Tweety so Sylvester wouldn't be able to devour Tweety. And Jackie puts this in mind of a person like that. She's so very, very kind and nice. But we want to salute Jackie for transforming a stiff ceremony. It could have been stiff, but she transformed it into a very friendly and welcoming ceremony. So we wanted to give her extreme praise for the way she handled that. And I thought she did a great job. And she filled us in on the person's, gave us a little brief biography, at least a Toastmasters biography about the people that we've been inducted this morning. And by the way, thank you so much for joining from this old veteran charter member of AM Lockport. We really enjoy it. Every time we get new members, I like to say, here we grow again. Now, the Zoom problem is Zoom turns the evaluators into the floor director of a TV studio. So here are my notes from today's broadcast. The only thing I think Jackie could have improved on, and this would have been very tricky, is she would probably need a second person in the room to handle this. If she could have flashed a formal portrait of each new member as she was describing them. So that really would have been nice. It's very, very difficult. I don't know how I would have done it. I'm on a phone, but that kind of called out to me during my observation and evaluation of her efforts this morning. So that would have been grand. So now we want to finish with a little praise. Once again, to repeat myself, I loved your brief history of every new person. It was very thoughtful. It was very kind. I want to give her high praise again for using the pledge. It was good to remind everybody why we're here, and we do have duties. So that was great to underline that. And her speech was part of a great meeting that proved to be a great kickoff for our new year. The mosaic came together with Margo's speech. Quiescent, not this club. Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Dave. Our second evaluator, evaluating Margo Bittner, is Tom Moran.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. And good morning, fellow Toastmasters. It's my pleasure this morning to evaluate Margo. I don't know that I've evaluated Margo many times, but I know I've watched her speak several times, and she always comes up with something just so creative. That is the nature of Margo. And this was something that was very creative this morning, and it worked so well because we're not in person. We are on a Zoom. So it's important that you get people's attention, because when you're inducting officers in person, people are moving around, coming back and forth, and this would have I think actually been difficult to do with officers actually there. So this was done specifically for this Zoom audience, and I appreciate all of the work and effort that you put into it, Margo. I know these things aren't easy. I've tried to be creative in many speeches myself, and it takes some work, and it takes some risk sometimes. You have to do things that are different than what other people are doing. And I particularly appreciate how you used food and that type of thing, because cooking and menus are often related to people related, or use it as a metaphor for life, as a matter of fact, in many stories and in poems and in other tales. You used it in this case to describe the activities of a club and how important these various officers are. It's not something that you can sit back and be quiescent about. It's something that you have to be very active. Now, I got confused a little bit because when you started out with turnip and lettuce, I thought we were going to have a salad. So I didn't know that that was just the first course. I see what you were doing then. I think if you could have carried it even further, you could have provided the entree, and I think I would have made more of a stew, because that's actually what the leadership is. It's more of a stew. You take these several parts and you take care of them. You sear them, you braise them, you mix them all together in a broth, and you make something that makes for a good recipe for success. And I think that recipe for success would have been the way to end the speech. Also, I noticed whenever you transitioned, you used like now or okay, and to transition from one to another, you could have just transitioned. We all followed you and we know what you're doing, but risky, yes. Successful, certainly. And I wish all the success to this club with this new recipe that Margo has provided. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom. Our final evaluator this morning, our guest evaluator, is Kristen Keryk. Kristen.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. So, when I originally joined Toastmasters, the reason why I joined was because I wanted the hardcore content. What can I do in order to be a better speaker? Step by step, outline it for me. But as I've progressed, I've learned to have an appreciation for speeches like tall tales and carols that activate my imagination. As Carol was speaking, I couldn't help but remember back when I was a little girl going to Outwater Park in Lockport to see the 4th of July fireworks with the big blue water tower. And of course, there wasn't any parking nearby, so we had to walk so far. Of course, it was only about 3 blocks, but when you're a 7-year-old, it's far, it's far. One of the things that I absolutely loved about Carol's speech was how she used her descriptive language to take people to where she was. I've visited Alcott Beach many times growing up, so I could just see the fireworks, and it was just such beautiful lyrical imagery. For an extemporaneous speech, I would have to say this is definitely one of the better ones that I have heard recently. A couple of pieces of advice to take it over the edge for next time. I want to hear that speech as a tall tales. I think that would be an extra added challenge for a speech contest or a different type of speech. Also, just as a point, for those of you that know Roger Morehouse, my mentor, he made sure that one of the things when I originally joined Toastmasters was to never give a speech for free. So if this particular speech can fit somewhere into your education program, please send me the evaluation form. I'm a school teacher, so I'm used to getting assignments late, particularly since I'm off for the summer. I would absolutely love to give an evaluation if and when there's an evaluation available. Beyond that, I absolutely loved Carol's speech. I thought that it was just evocative and definitely reminiscent for me. So job well done. Also, thank you for having me today. I really appreciate crashing your party.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Thank you for joining us this morning. Could I have a final timers report, please? Mr. Eggert.
You may. The timers report for the evaluators, Dave Licata, was 3 minutes, 30 seconds, 0.01. I'll leave it to you if you want to count that 0.01. Tom Moran was 2 minutes, 59 seconds, 0.21. And Kristen was 2 minutes, 32 seconds, 0.47. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Mr. Timer. And Larry will have a poll ready.
I was so enthralled with the speeches and the evaluations that when I was creating the poll, I have Ryan's name down as the very first one on top. It says Ryan, Tom, and then Kristen. So when you see the poll appear on your screen, Ryan, AKA, will be Dave Licata. So Ryan is Dave on the poll. I just did not change it.
Thank you, Larry. Now, I've been reading all the chats, and one of them struck me was Foghorn Leghorn. I can't do an imitation of Foghorn Leghorn, but I've been reading like all the chats, and that was really entertaining. So thank you all for entertaining with all the chats. I see Kate put the Pink Panther. I remember Pinky and the Brain. That was the other one I remember. Pinky and the Brain. The Pinky and the Brain. Pinky, okay. All right, before I break any windows in my own apartment, I will turn things over now to our general evaluator, Jen Zapla.
Thank you, Eric. I have a couple of notes for us today, although I think we've done an excellent job staying on time. It looks like we may even finish up early, although knowing this club, I'm not so sure. Everyone likes to get an extra word in. I think our favorite thing to do is talk. So a couple of pointers, Eric. I think you did an excellent job. You had a very fun theme. Everyone was really excited about it and engaged. I also, like Sylvia, originally thought that the theme was summer plans, and I know it's because in the agenda it's actually written. So I don't know if that's an issue of the Toastmaster going in and updating that, or the VPE making sure that when they're copying the agenda that they're deleting a previous or past theme. But I think that we should try to get better about doing that as a club, because it can be a little confusing for people as they're preparing. Moklis, so official with your counting for the Master today. I love your official form. I was a little intimidated by it, and hopefully you haven't marked me down too much so far. I want to acknowledge a couple of members for stepping up today. Dave and Carol Ann especially. That was excellent, filling in those slots. Eric, I actually wanted to mention as well, I know it's difficult, especially on Zoom, to keep track, but I would try to suggest when you're going through at the beginning, I like to have all my members written out and check them off as they're arriving, so I know if I have to fill roles, especially a speaker role. It's really difficult, and that was a real swing right there for Carol Ann. So if you can acknowledge that a little bit earlier in the meeting so she can compose herself a little more ahead of time, I think that would be a good thing to do. A couple other notes. I know we have a lot of things happening during the meeting. People get up and move around sometimes. If you're doing that, Phil, please turn off your camera when you leave the room. Jackie, I heard your suggestion today to take our meeting to every morning instead of just every Thursday. I don't know if anyone else caught that, but I don't know if I'm quite on board, but maybe. Also, I want to remind people, I think we've gotten significantly better at using mute buttons, but still we have a little glitches here and there. So just remember where your mute buttons are. And then on to our evaluators today. A couple of our evaluators used the opportunity to evaluate as partially a table topic. So I want to remind you that the purpose of your evaluation is really to give feedback on the speech. So keep that in mind. It's all right to make a comment here and there, but you want to make sure the majority of your evaluation is regarding the actual speech itself. I have heard some positives, a lot of positives in the evaluations, and everybody did have at least some sort of feedback on how to improve. I think overall we did a good job. I loved that Kristen brought up the evaluation form. That is a requirement for Toastmasters International to actually have a written as well as verbal evaluation. So keep that in mind. Make sure that as a speaker, you're sending those forms out, and as an evaluator, you're sending them back. So make sure we're doing that. I hope we are. I think we are. I know we've brought it up a couple of times, but I wanted to reiterate it because I don't think we can reiterate it enough. On to our reports for the day. I will start off with Moklis. How did I do?
Okay. Well, in this pandemic, we are going through a quiescent lifestyle, but AM Lockport is not a quiescent club. This is a very active, fun, and interesting club. I know you're all waiting to get my reports. I'll try to go to the share screen. Okay. If you see green along your name, that means you did wonderful. And Sorry, some technical difficulties. I'm getting used to it. I think Erik did the best so far. We have a total 26, and Erik must have scored a good portion of 5 of them, so that's not bad. How many greens do we have? Mark, Alexis, Kate, Larry, Jennifer, yourself. So a lot of people. And what's the most often used word? And. And was the most often used as a transition or, connecting word, even though they are not required. Second highest was the so. I won't call out the name just so that those of you who can see it, and I can maybe even post it later on. Overall, as a club, we have done very well. I think a lot of our Toastmasters are extremely skilled, trained, aware of not using these unnecessary words. I've also enjoyed many excellent pauses because that's the only way you can avoid these words and let the audience sink in, understand, and even reflect what you and I have just said. And that's my report, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Moklis. Our grammarian today is Kate. Kate, how did we do?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. We did fairly well, and I, again, cannot keep up with Moklis's chart, but I want that chart. I'm going to download it. I feel like I may have slipped in a couple of so's that he didn't hear, so I will self-report that. I'll focus on the strong vocabulary, except what do you all think would be the word that we still drop G's on, folks? What word? Gonna, gonna, gonna. Just remove it from your lexicon. Please. Gonna, not a word. Some strong vocabulary. Fill, repudiate. Although I have to say, what's up with the mute? You do that, you say that on purpose, obviously. The moot has become a joke. I feel like there's an origin story there. Maybe I'm wrong. Thomas, I'm not sure if you're still on. I have to just joke about this because he forgot the word. He swore a little bit. He may not even remember. That happened to me twice, where a member said, Kate, you said that on the microphone. I said, no, I did not in person. I must have slipped. So we have to watch ourselves. This is a rather professional setting, and we are being recorded. Strong vocabulary. Jackie, you taught me this word today, voluble. I have never heard that word, voluble, meaning fluent and ready to speak. So may we, like you say, all be voluble members and voluble people in our lives. Margo, I think you keep setting your bar higher and higher and higher. Extremely punny. And I encourage all of our members to watch today. I'm going to suggest that when the recap is sent out, that for anyone not attending, that's a speech to watch and save. I appreciate you, Margo, and thanks for the wonderful installation of our officers for the coming year. Dave slipped in mosaic at the end, such a great word. Kristen, extemporaneous, evocative, reminiscent. And thank you, Kristen, for that offer, because as a former teacher, we are, of course, used to late work. And I'm pleased that Carol jumped in as alternate anyhow. So you prepared somewhat, and then you can connect with each other. Except, Kristen, can you private chat me your email address, because I can facilitate that. I know it might help, Carol, for you on your tablet, and then we can chat again at social hour tonight if necessary, and we can CC each other. And then Jen used acknowledge, opportunity, glitches, reiterate. If I missed anything else, I apologize. I'll kick it back to Jen now. SGE, thanks.
Thank you, Kate. Next up, we have our gesture master, which is Len. Len, are you still with us?
I am indeed, Madam General Evaluator. We're doing pretty well in general with looking at the camera. I was pleasantly surprised at how many people have adapted to that. with a few exceptions. First off, on the theme today, I have to throw in, of course, Looney Tunes is where I learned classical music, or an appreciation thereof. Simpsons was great in the more contemporary time. I think the longest running animated show in history. Pink Panther was always very entertaining. No dialogue, but there was still a plot and action, and you could understand it. And of course, who doesn't love the Stones? I grew up with the Flintstones. That was classic. So on to our gestures. Mark started off right away. Very good hand gestures, even while sitting down. It's so difficult to really express yourself when you're sitting down, when you don't have the full use of the camera seeing your entire person. Larry, very good. Holding up the phone, his cup at times. Incidentally, Larry McKenzie, I'm about 15 miles away from Hershey, PA right now. Just happened to be down in Pennsylvania when you mentioned that after the Hershey's guest. Erik, you're looking down a lot, and I need to talk to you about your camera. I'm not sure what your setup is technology-wise, but you seem blurrier than everybody else, and that's a little bit distracting, and I couldn't see where your eyes were, whether you were indeed looking at the camera or not. So I don't know if it's a lighting issue, but the camera's not very sharp. Maybe it just needs cleaned, who knows. Jen, very good, very animated, of course. Larry, good use of hands, I said. Pam, you used props, holding up the Hershey's Kiss at the end. Tom Heldwine, unsteady camera. He was on his phone, and that's a little bit distracting when somebody's walking around. Kudos for multitasking and being involved in the meeting while at work, but it's a little distracting with the phone. Phil was looking at the screen. Phil, try and focus on narrowing your vision right to the camera there. Kate, probably the worst offender. You do get kudos for a very nice background, but you are almost always looking over at people's faces, another part of the screen, as opposed to the center of the camera. David, good. Jackie, good. A lot of reading with Jackie, so your eyes were obviously going back and forth, but that was the nature of the presentation, as it was with Margo. And Tom, very good job. Carol Ann, you were looking down at a tablet. The angle at which you were looking at the camera was a little bit distracting. If you can find a holder to lift it up a little bit higher so that we're looking more directly at you, that would be helpful. Kristen, very good job. Saw your arms moving, saw expressions. Papers came up a couple times as you're shuffling those, but it kind of added to the effect there. And Muklas, good job. We're getting there, people. We're getting there. We're learning how to Zoom. Miss Madam, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Len. Next up, we have our word master today. I have not used Quiescence yet, but it's hopefully not too late. So, Mr. Campos.
Thank
Although
you.
Quiescence was dormant for me in the beginning, no longer.
Yes, for some people, quiescent was quiescent. But before I get into my Wordmaster report, Madam General Evaluator, I just have to comment. I have to add my 2 cents on Moklis's spreadsheet. I appreciate the attention to detail, Moklis. However, the spreadsheet must be destroyed. We have to delete it. We have to have your hard drive wiped with a Department of Defense level wipe to ensure that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. If Margo or Edna ever got their hands on that spreadsheet, we're finished. Need I say more? In any event, to my report. Pre-table topics, as you might expect, we did pretty well. Kate used it once, Larry Eggert twice, Michael used it once, and Larry McKenzie twice. All contestants used it in table topics. And post-table topics, we avoided becoming quiescent. Margo used it once, Carol Ann once, David once, Tom once, Moklis twice, and Jen, it's never too late. You used it twice at the end. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mark. Our quiz master today is Mike.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I have a few questions this morning. What is Pam's superfood?
Chocolate.
Wine.
Both.
Which character did Thomas portray at Jellystone Park?
Boo
Boo Boo Bear.
Okay. How many new members did we induct today?
3.
And when is Carol Ann's birthday?
July
July 3rd.
Oh,
Third, nice. And the final one, what appears on her cake almost every year?
happy birthday,
Crab.
old crab.
An old crab. I like that. And that is my report this morning.
Thank you, Mike. I believe that is all of the reports. Again, I know we had a meeting full of some club business, but I thought we still managed to make it entertaining and fun for everyone. I will turn it back over to our president and Toastmaster, Erik.
Thank you so much, Jen. All right. That's all for today, folks. I'd like to ask our guests how they'd like to meet. Kristen, how did you like our meeting today? As we finally got you here, as I've been like not pestering, but begging you to come and join us.
It's so early. No, I absolutely loved this meeting. I definitely learned a lot, and it was so wonderful to see all of your smiling early faces. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us, Kristen. Now, we should, with our awards this morning, and Larry, do you have the awards?
I do. Actually, I messaged them to you, but would you like me to announce them?
If you would like to.
I would love to. Sure. Before I do the announcements, though, we do have one other guest that was with us this morning, Pam Gorman.
Oh, Pam.
Pam, how did you enjoy the meeting?
I always enjoy visiting AM Lockport, and it definitely is worth getting up for. That's why I had invited somebody. Their club had not tried using Zoom yet. In fact, they were kind of struggling a bit, and I said, there was a club that wasn't going to use Zoom, and let me tell you how it's worked out for them. In fact, they're meeting tomorrow morning. She wasn't feeling well this morning, but she will come next week, so you may just see me again next week, too. I love it. Thanks.
Thank you. That would be awesome. We look forward to having you and a guest next week. And the reason I asked you to say something before, because we're doing our ribbon winners right now, and our table topics winner this morning was Pam Gorman.
That's funny.
Pam, even though you did have a little bit of that new medication melatonin last night, you did quite well. Our table topics ribbon winner this morning. Our evaluator, our top evaluator, drum roll please. Our guest, Kristen, was our top evaluator this morning. Thank you, Kristen. Great gestures and things throughout your evaluation. Appreciate it. And thank you for joining us this morning. Our top speaker of the day with setting a new level, Margo, with her speech today. Margo, congratulations, our top speaker. I will now turn the meeting back over to our president, Erik.
Thank you so much, Larry. And I see Dave Licata has his hand raised. Yes, David.
Wait a minute. Hang on. All right.
Oh.
Here's the deal. May I close the meeting tying in with your theme?
Sure, Larry. I mean, Dave, why not?
That's all, folks.
Thank you, Dave. Are there any other announcements as we wrap up the meeting? Anybody?
I do have something.
Go ahead, Larry.
I did post in the chat this not too long ago the link for this evening's social hour at 7 p.m. If you would like to join AM Lockport, invite a friend, bring a drink. It's fun. It's just an open forum, social get together where you can toast everyone that comes into the room and just share some thoughts and be socially distant but together. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Larry. And I see Tom has an announcement too. Yes, Tom.
It's not actually an announcement. It's a question for Jen. Jen, I see a stick there where your orchid used to be.
Tom, you're cursing my orchid.
Huh?
You're cursing my orchid. All the flowers died and it's your fault. You wanted me to prove it was real, and I've done it.
Oh, I thought it was fake. Huh, okay.
Now we know.
I'm sorry about your work. That's all I had to say, Eric. Mr. President.
Thank you so much.
Quiescent. The orchid is quiescent right now.
Fellow Toastmasters, thank you so much for attending today's meeting. I will officially adjourn the meeting and have a wonderful, safe 4th of July weekend. I'll see you all next week. Thank you.